Hello again painters, it's Debbie from acrylicpouring.com, back for yet another painting experiment today. I really want to get to the bottom of getting my formula exactly right. I'm working out exactly what works and what doesn't in all of these variations that I'm trying. So I thought it would be a good time, if you've been following along with these experiments, let's just have a recap of what I've done so far. So this one was my first kind of lucky painting. They're all dry, none of them are varnished or anything yet, but you can see that the surface is quite shiny. It's a lot more shiny than when I usually paint with acrylics. It normally ends up very dull. And the gold highlights in this painting are absolutely exceptional. I would say that this, I wasn't immediately thinking that this was my kind of colour palette, but with the gloss, medium in this and this metallic paint, it's really fabulous. I love it a lot. So this one was just the basic craft paints with the acrylic gloss medium, and then I had a little bit of the gold that had the Floetrol in it. And now I'm thinking back, also I'm thinking that this gold paint, because it was pre-mixed, it probably also had a few drops of silicone. So now I need to work out in my formula whether silicone is important to get the cells or not, or whether it was the mix between the gloss and the Floetrol that made the cells. So this was the first one that I tried, and then we moved over to this one. Again, look how shiny this is. This hasn't got any varnish on it. This is just exactly as the paint's dried, and it's got a little bit of metallics in it, if you can see, but this painting is just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I mean, okay, it didn't come with the cells that I was looking for, but the way the paint has broken up into all these different areas and the metallics in it and the shine from the varnish is one of my favourite paintings. So it just goes to show that sometimes, cells, although maybe that's what you're trying to achieve, it really isn't everything that you need to create a beautiful painting. So this one was with the artist Loft. And it was just Artist Loft's paintings with the acrylic gloss, and again some more of the gold in there. And then my next one, this one was the Liquitex Basics, and again it's dried nice and glossy and shiny. I've got no problems with it. There were a couple of little bumps in the paint on this one where I probably hadn't mixed it carefully enough. I don't think it's a problem with the actual Liquitex Basics itself, I expect. But again, it's dried absolutely beautifully. There's no cracks or crazing, there's no pinholes. It's fabulous. I think my colour choices aren't the best, but still, it's a good painting. So then at this point, without being able to get any cells, I wondered what was going on. Is it the paint that I was using? So I've gone back in this one to using the basic apple barrel paints, just in different colours, and I got a few cells again in this one, but not so much. And this one was just using the apple barrel paints and the gloss medium, and again you can see that it's very shiny. There are some places that are more shiny than others depending on the colour. The kind of blue, I think, where it's mixed with the white is a little bit more dull, but otherwise again it's a really nice painting that I like. And then, in an attempt to get back and find out why I had cells in that original painting and not with the others, I went back to the original formula, which was using some of that gold that I had pre-mixed that had the Floetrol in it, and probably also had a few drops of silicone, along with the apple barrel paints and then the gloss medium. And again, I got the fabulous results, the same as I got in that first painting. Again, it's beautifully finished. There's no little pinholes, no cracks, no crazing. Absolutely beautifully finished. You can see that the paint actually feels nice, luxurious, smooth, and the gold is shining up really beautifully in this. So now, with that recap of all the successes that I've had and the trials that we've done, it's time to, I think, really get to the bottom today of what is creating the cells in this first and the fifth example, and what was not creating the cells in examples 2, 3 and 4 where it didn't work. So today, another experiment. So let's get this experiment started. I have mixed all of my paints completely new. So I've gone back to using the Artist Loft. I've got the metallic purple, which is quite thin. It doesn't need to be watered down very much. Whoops. turquoise and brilliant magenta. So here is my metallic purple, and this has been mixed with the Sargent Art Acrylic Gloss Medium. It didn't need any water at all, and then I've added 2 millilitres of alcohol. I'm going to add a little bit, oops, in my cup. Probably didn't need that much, hey. That's what happens. Okay. And then my turquoise, and again the turquoise is mixed with the gloss medium, 2 millilitres of alcohol, and this paint's a little thicker, so it did need a little bit of water adding to it, just to make it the right consistency for pouring. And I'm putting the tops back on the paints after I use them, just because I'm thinking that the alcohol might evaporate off, and I'm going to be using these paints for a little bit. So here's the brilliant magenta. Looks a little thick. Let me take a look. That might be okay. So again, this is just the paint mixed with the gloss medium, 2 millilitres of alcohol, and then water as needed to thin it out. And then lastly, I have my gold, and I've mixed this completely fresh so I know exactly what's in it, and it is mixed with the Floetrol, that's this one, the Flood Floetrol, and also 2 millilitres of the alcohol, and then I've added water as necessary to thin it out. And it doesn't have any silicone in it at all, because I've made absolutely sure this is completely made from scratch in a new little tub there. So I probably need to go around again and just add a little bit more colour. I'm not going to go too crazy or I won't have any left for my second experiment. And we will see whether it's just the mixing of this new pouring medium I'm using along with the Floetrol that is creating those cells without any kind of, without any kind of torching or anything, or whether it turns out that that gold that I had just a few drops of silicone in, and it made enough difference that it was actually that was creating the cells and not the mixing of the pouring medium and the Floetrol. So, nice bit of gold. Okay, and we're good. So now, zoom in and take a look at the cup. I can see all of the colours in the cup there, but I'm not seeing any cells, so maybe already this is answering my question, but let's see what happens when we do a flip onto the tile. Okay. So I should probably zoom out a little bit, because I dare say I will have to move this tile about a little bit once the cup is up, and let's see what happens. We could be finding the answer right here or maybe not, because maybe it comes down to paint brand too. You see, on this one I'm using these Artist Loft tube paints, whereas on the 2 successful ones I've had so far I've been using the Apple Barrel, the craft paints that are a lot thinner, so I haven't actually needed to add any water to them. So I still think, you know, I may have a lot more experimenting to come, but I'm determined to get to the bottom of why things work and why they don't. So let's give it a lift up and we'll see what's going to happen with it. Scrape everything out of there. Very nice colours together. I do like this colour combo. Okay, probably spread that out a little bit. So the colours look good. That metallic gold along with the metallic purple, fabulous combo. Must use that more often. But I can see lots of bubbles, no cells. So let me see, where's my pointy tool? I'm just going to get in there with my pokey tool and see if I can pop some of these bigger bubbles before I start to move it about. Because I'm not planning on torching it either, you see, so I don't want to end up with a lot of bubbles in there. Okay, so we may already have our answer. It may come down to either the paint brand or the silicone, but we will see. So I'm just going to move this about, see what happens. The paints are lovely, these two colours. So you remember in the one where I used this metallic purple before? It kind of broke up a little bit and created some really interesting effects. So I wonder if it's going to do that this time. I can see it's breaking up. So I wonder if that's just the reaction with the alcohol. I'm guessing that it might be. But I only had it with these paints. Oops, I didn't have it with all of them. But this metallic purple especially reacted very strongly with that alcohol probably. Wow, the shimmer up here and this gold is fabulous. I'd like to try and keep a little bit of that pink if possible, so maybe that is all I need to do. Let's wipe my hands up and take a look. So yeah, more bubbles. Those are popping a little bit though, so I'll just help those out so I don't end up with little dents in the paint later on. A couple more here. And again, it looks fabulous. These colours together look great. The colour combo is nice. The shimmer in the metallics and the gold is beautiful, but it's very much like this one that I did with the paints on the canvas. It's got a very similar kind of look, but it doesn't have the cells. So we may be getting closer to our answer here. So look at this, the way the colours have gone there. That is really nice actually. Maybe I should try and move this down a bit more into the centre, because I want to keep all of these. I'm going to write up all of these experiments and see what worked and what didn't, and see if I can get to the bottom of all of this. Because it would be nice if I could end up with a formula that I know is going to work for me and is going to work for all of the brand of paints that I want to use. Because it's frustrating if you end up having to use a different formula just because you're using a different brand of paints this time. And then what happens if you want to mix and match brands in order to get the right colour combo for you? You may have to use, you know, a different formula for each mix. So I would really like to know a lot more about the science behind these and how everything is working. Okay, so that's experiment number one. I think we can set that to one side. No cells. Okay, part two of our experiment. This time the gold, I'm going to add in some drops of the treadmill belt lubricant that I use, because this I think is the only variation that we haven't tried. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, that was probably about 6. More than I meant to add. Because when I used the pre-mixed gold in the previous, in the first example, it probably had a little bit of silicone in it. So let's now see if this is going to make a difference. So I'm going to do exactly the same. Start with a bit of the purple, the turquoise. So these are all unaltered. I've not done anything. These are the same paints that I poured in the first example. And the only difference is the gold now has a few drops of silicone in it. And we'll see how this works, whether it makes any difference at all. And we should be able to tell, hopefully, if this is going to come down to paint brands, or whether it's going to come down to silicone, whether it's going to come down to the pouring medium, what it's going to come down to. And I can tell right away, I don't seem to have cells. I've got nothing obvious happening. Let's put all the lids back on my paints a moment. Let's just take a look at this cup. Nope, nothing obvious happening. So now I'm mystified again, because if it doesn't happen now, then maybe it comes down to paint brands. Maybe it's going to be to do with certain paint brands will work with this formula and certain ones don't. Because if it's not the silicone, it's not the Floetrol, it's not the pouring medium. Yeah, I'm mystified. Anyway, Let's flip it up and see what happens. Maybe we'll get some cells on the flip. So I'm just going to leave it to settle for a little bit, like I usually do. Okay, let's lift it and see. And again, nothing obvious happening. Now this is interesting now, because I was kind of certain that it must be, in theory, coming down to the fact that that gold I'd used maybe had a few drops of silicone in it. But now, having added some silicone, and I'm still not getting the cells, then maybe it just comes down to paint brand. Although I did that other one with the apple barrel paints that had the different colours, and that should in theory have been exactly the same as the chocolate and kind of coffee coloured one. Same brand of paints, just different colours. And that one didn't get cells, even though I used the same formula. So what on earth is going on? Why work sometimes and then just completely not work another? Because those two coffee coloured ones just exploded with cells, you know, right out of the cup. They were just everywhere. Whereas now, you know, again with the Artist Loft, it's not happening. Beautiful colours again, still not the cells. Even with the silicone added this time. So clearly the silicone isn't the answer either, because that hasn't created anything. Ooh, that turquoise area there is nice. That's going to go though. Okay. Oh, last little bit over here. And we're done. So there's a little bit of stuff going on here. I can see as I've moved it around, you know, I've got some areas just here, big patch here where nothing's happening. So again, another mystery. I felt pretty certain that I was going to fix this today, and now I'm going to have to go back to the drawing board and put together some more formulas and see what's going to work. I think I'm going to just shift this off down that corner there a little bit. Get rid of some of that plain purple. So I'm intrigued. Have any of you carried out these kind of experiments for yourself? Mixing and matching all kinds of different things and seeing which ones work and which ones don't? Because it's absolutely fascinating, isn't it, really, as to why certain formulas seem to work with certain paints and then they don't work with other paints. It's a mystery really to me as to how this works sometimes, doesn't work other times. Okay, I think that's missing a bit of pink really, but we'll see. Okay, so that's that one. And here is this other one. So this one had no silicone in it at all. This one had silicone and it did make some cells, but it wasn't the same huge explosion of cells that I'd had with the craft paint. So now I'm thinking, is it water? Because these ones were thicker paints, I had to add water to thin them down. The craft paints were already runny, I didn't add water, but if I look back, when I did this one with the craft paints, this one didn't make cells either, only that coffee coloured one. There's just a few cells in here, not much. So, darn it, I thought I was gonna solve this mystery today, and still I haven't. Anyway, I've got a couple of pretty looking tiles there with some very nice metallics and things, so I don't think it's a complete loss. I'll definitely save them. And join me again in the next video when I'm going to try and really nail this down to find out exactly what's happening. Whether I will, I don't know. I thought I was going to get it today. Okay, join me next time.